Well, hey, it's a rainy fall day here in Portland. I'm gearing up to go on a big scouting mission into Yellowstone and the Tetons. I can't wait before teaching a workshop in Moab. So I'm kind of packing and I'm going through gear. Thought I'd do this video on tripods. It's a rainy fall day, good time to get out of Oregon. If it rains too hard, I'll have to probably jump in the studio to finish this. But I want to show you some tips and tricks that I've learned through the years for working with tripods. This is actually the smallest tripod that I have. It's a little Benro fluid head. A lot of people are carrying these ultra small travel tripods, 4 or 5 sections, real spindly last set of legs. The first tip I'm gonna give you is that if you have one of those tripods with a really spindly last set of legs, just unless you're working in salt water or even water and you're gonna be immersing the base of the tripod in water, if you're really going to immerse it, just open it a little tiny bit if it's going to be in shallow mud puddles or something. If you're working out in surf with surf breaking around, use that last leg. Just because you don't want the joint immersed in salt water, you're going to have to break it down, clean it. I'll link a video I have for tripod maintenance where I break down a tripod and show you how to clean it all out. But in general, if you're just working in dry conditions, don't even open that last little spindly leg. Open all the other sections. And open it from the bottom up though, other than that. So if I'm working with a tripod, I like to open the lowest section I'm comfortable working with. This is my small tripod, but it still has nice substantial legs, so I'll use that bottom section. And the reason for that is, if I'm starting with it a little bit low, I'd rather leave some room to work with the uppermost leg locks. And that way, as I'm working with the scene, I don't have to bend way down low to work with those bottom ones. I can just reach right here and make that leg a little bit longer. I want that top one to be the one that I'm just adjusting how tall is my tripod, right? So I get it kind of dialed in, boom. For me, I can level this thing just with the base leveling adjuster. This is kind of my ultralight fluid head setup. Boom, I'm ready to go. So another thing, if you're working with a smaller tripod or any tripod that has a center column, center columns are really not my favorite. I tend to prefer the systematic tripod, particularly with a bowl where you can level your head, whatever kind of head you're using from beneath. This is a tripod that I have, the only one with a center column, and I leave it down unless I absolutely have no choice. And the reason is, when you're the stable place to mount your tripod head is right where those legs come together. The minute that you lift it up above that, you introduce a lot of instability. The wind blows, it's up above the stable point. Just one more place for shake and instability to mess with your work. So leave that thing down unless you absolutely have to raise it. And then, the other argument I'd have is if you have to, to be working with a really light tripod, I like a stone bag no matter what as a shelf to put filters in or lens caps or whatever it is that I'm working with. These stone bags are great. I will put a link below the description, click show more, and it'll be in the video along with some other links. But these bags are great, particularly with a lightweight tripod. If it gets a little bit windy, you can put a big 20-pound stone in here and all of a sudden your 5-pound, 4-pound, 3-pound ultralight tripod becomes a substantial rooted fixture that's much more stable, particularly if you don't have the center column raised or those little tiny thin legs spread out. Okay, so when I go to put away a tripod, one thing I'll see a lot of people reach down and they start undoing each leg, working their way up the tripod. Well, the first thing I do, if I've got a camera on here, I make sure that the clamp is rock solid, make sure that the locks are set so this thing isn't gonna move. Then I just flip it upside down. Maybe I'll take the camera off first, but I'll just work each leg. I collapse it in. If I've been in salt water and I've had this leg inundated, I won't collapse it. Regular water, I don't care. If my tripod's well maintained, it's gonna be fine, but I don't want salt water in there. So I'll leave it until I can get back to the hotel or back home and rinse it off with water, or back at the truck, I'll rinse it off with a bottle of water and leave it to dry before I put it back. If it's dry, I'll just pop the locks, close that leg, flip. And I'm holding it upside down, so gravity is my friend, makes it so much easier. If I'm using leg locks, it's just a quarter turn loose, quarter turn tight, boom, we're ready to go. If I've got one of these stone bags, I just poke it up through the middle. It's a lot easier when you don't have a center column, but you just pinch it in between the legs, off you go, set, done. Okay, so let me just show you that everything I've been talking about goes exactly the same with a big tripod. Here I have my new best friend, kind of fun toy, my new 500, really lightweight but amazingly sharp 5.6. And it's mounted up here on my Manfrotto 500 AH fluid head, the fluid head that I use all the time for sort of everything. I'm just gonna showcase, you know, one reason I like to have my legs that I'm working with right at hand level. I don't wanna open this thing from the top down and have to adjust height way down below, leaning down. I wanna have the adjustments that let me get level on a hillside, you know, right where it's easy for me to get a hold of them. And then you can do that last leveling by just flipping this, looking at the bubble level under the head. Boom, now everything I do, this head stays level, bam. If I want to break it down, it's the same thing as with the little tripod. I've got everything locked down here. You know, another thing I'll do is I'll take off and carry this to another location. I wanna make sure the clamp is locked tight, that rotating lock, I'm like, nothing can move or shift. Everything's nice and tight, all the adjustments. And I'll just pick it up, carry it on my shoulder, and go about my business. I like to keep it with the lens pointed down just so nothing drops in and gets dirt on my lens or anything like that. But when I'm gonna break it down, again, I'm gonna turn it upside down, even with that big lens there, boom. And I've got rock claws on here. If you look through some of my tripod videos, I advocate rock claws for working in rocky mountainous conditions and spikes in salt water. Well, what I do to kind of protect myself when I'm collapsing the tripod is I actually put the stone bag under them. And then when I mount it to my bag, it gets strapped up against them. And that way, or I put it in the truck, those sharp edges aren't gonna poke anybody. I can even pull these little webbing straps to get it nice and snug around there. And all of a sudden, those claws aren't gonna poke someone while I'm walking down the trail with it. They're not gonna rip a hole in my leg when I take my backpack off with this mounted on the side. I can just grab it and head off down the road. So those are some fun tips and tricks. I hope that helps you with your tripod. If you've got questions, you know, throw them in the comments section, hit me with an email. I'm easy to get a hold of. I thank everybody who's been watching the series and subscribing and liking and sharing with friends. It makes a big difference. Again, I got links to the stone bag. I'll throw a link to the video that I did on tripod maintenance. You know, that tip I can't reiterate enough. If you're out in salt water, if you're working in the ocean, keep that last leg extended. Do that first. Make sure you're not putting that joint in water when you don't need to, particularly salt water. If you have had it in salt water, don't collapse it. Don't suck that salt water in through the leg. Don't let any seep up inside of here. If you do, if you've really been in salt water, then watch that video I'm gonna link on tripod maintenance. Take your whole thing apart, rinse it really good, put a little super lube. I linked that in that video. Just on the threads, let it all dry, put it back together. It's gonna give you years more service. You know, the other thing I didn't talk about, for tripods that have these legs that with the turning locks like this Gitzo, I see a lot of people torque them and then open them way up to move them back and forth. Well, a good tripod like this, you know, it's kind of like a fine automobile. You gotta kind of just treat it just right and it'll give you years of good service, but if you abuse it, it's gonna break. You know, the more expensive, the really right stuff, the Gitzos particularly, they're ultra lightweight, you don't wanna over torque them. All you need to do is turn it hand tight and just give it a tiny little twist. Boom, it's not going anywhere. That's locked rock solid. You can press down on the tripod once you get it set up and just make sure nothing's loose. When you wanna open and close them, it's a quarter turn. Moves around, quarter turn, locked. It's really just that. That's all the motion you ever need with these twist legs. That's it. I see a lot of people turn, 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 turn. No, just a quarter twist. All right, so hope that helps. Again, thanks for all the subscriptions and the likes and the shares. I'm packing my bags, gonna jump in the Sprinter, pick up my good buddy Rick LePage. We're going to scout in Yellowstone and Tetons for a little over a week, and then we'll be down in Moab where right now it's sunny and 85, which sounds pretty awesome. I hope that weather holds. We're gonna have Milky Way down there if the skies are clear every evening right after the sun sets and it goes dark until about 10:30 p.m. Couldn't be better. I've got a great crew joining me, so I'll have some videos queued up for while I'm gone. I'll be back in early October and hopefully I can share some of the fun from that road trip. All right, everybody, be well, have fun shooting, and we'll see you next week.